Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review. I'm here today to talk to you about Doom Patrol Season 2. So, Doom Patrol Season 2 picks up right where it left off for about a couple of maybe weeks, maybe I think it's a couple of weeks, yeah. About a month total. And while Season 1 was doom and gloom with the whole woe is me thing, Season 2 took a very dark path, which was much needed and everything. It was darker. There was twists and turns left and right that you really wasn't expecting. It really utilized, like, instead of telling like solo episodes of like a character and having the entire episode revolve around them, it was smart enough to like split like characters up and tell two stories at once. And I like that a lot. It helped the story flow a whole lot more. Plus, one of the reasons why they probably did that is that they didn't have that many episodes this season. It was 15 in season 1, but only 9 in season 2. And then there's 10 in season 3. But I particularly don't like season 3 that much. Now, season 2 had really good CGI and it benefited from DC Universe. Season 3 was HBO Max. And well, the CGI went down big time, especially with that whole Baby Madame Rouge thing. That was just terrible. Mr. Nobody does not show up in season 2 because now he's voicing the Joker on the Harley Quinn show. And they make a smart little fun reference towards that, which is really cool. But season 2 introduced us to Niles' daughter, Dorothy. And she was a great addition to this show. Like, she was just amazing and stuff. And I really enjoyed the actress who played her because Niles' daughter is technically supposed to be like 11 years old, but she's really like 103 quarters. But she has the appearance of a little girl, and that's how Niles wants to keep her, like staying like a little girl's like state, because there's a reason for it. It's kind of like a dark prophecy and everything. And so, but she's played by Abby Montarelli. I think that's how you say her name. Monterey. She is an amazing actress. First of all, she's an adult playing a child. I think she has some form of dwarfism or something like that. And she is really good at acting. Like, I really enjoyed her character in season 2. It sucks that she leaves halfway in season 3. But in season 2, like, my God, that actress is good. She's better than any reality star, singer, or athlete who tries to like act. And that's saying a lot. People really should like try to act more like her when it comes to acting, because she's just like great and like phenomenal. Normally I hate when they introduce like a new character, but I really enjoyed this character a lot, and her acting. Her acting was really sold it. And so each member of the Doom Patrol, instead of focusing on the like drama that they was going through in season 1, the smart thing was they gave them something new to focus on in season 2, which is a bit more darker than that of season 1. Everybody goes more down this kind of like internal darker path with their like flashbacks and stuff like that. And one good thing is, like I said, they didn't dwell on all the stuff that happened to them on season 1. So now they have like different things they're doing in season 2, which I like that character development. We also get more of Niles this season because he's no longer, captive of Mr. Nobody and stuff. Now, what's interesting about this is that in season 1, they was building up to the superhero team, but they never truly got there. But they did in a way. Like, even though they're not your traditional like superhero team with costumes and this and that and like stage names and stuff, they still do heroic stuff and they fight bad guys. It's just you really don't think about it when you watch this show because everything's so like odd and wacky and these C and D list like characters that you just really don't ever realize that they are in fact saving the world per episode and stuff. They're just not an official like team and don't call themselves the Doom Patrol and stuff. So I find that to be very clever. I hope to God season 4 is going to be good. I didn't particularly like season 3 at all. And I don't particularly like HBO Max. So, like, I don't know, the shows are okay. But it's kind of lackluster at times. And they always manage to mess things up when they get their hands on something. So, here's hoping and stuff. And so this entire season actually revolves around that of Niles, his daughter and her unique power and stuff. Because there is an ultimate villain this season. It's just we really don't get to see him like last season. Now, there is no narration this season. This season is also a little less wackier than last season. And last season, because Mr. Nobody was such like, a very fourth wall breaking, meta type villain. It doesn't have that same wacky appeal as season 1, but when they do things really wacky in season 2, boy, you better like hold on to your seat. Like, I still can't believe the episode Sex Patrol with the sex men. I was all like, there's no way they could be really from the comic books. Looked it up. Oh yes, the sex men, which is kind of like X-Men, because Doom Patrol are technically the first type of X-Men in comics. Oh my god, that was a hilarious episode, and I still can't believe they exist in the comics. Now we do get to see more villains and characters from that the comics that are just as strange and like bizarre as ever and stuff. So let's get into Larry Trainer first. So last season was about Larry coming to terms with his sexuality, him being gay, his lover John Bowers, how he cheated on his wife for many years and stuff. That's all in season 1. In season 2, it focuses on his kids and how actually Larry was actually a crappy father. Not only was he a crappy husband, but he was a crappy father. Like, his son made like a space shuttle ship type thing, right? That his father's supposed to fly in. And his son was so happy about like making this little plane model type thing and wanted to impress his dad, and his wife was like, oh, like, look what your son made for you, and and stuff like that. And so Larry liked it too until he noticed a flaw in it. The flaw was in the jet like engine type thing. He put it in the wrong spot. He put it underneath the ship because he liked where it looked right there. But his dad tells him it goes like inside it and everything. And so he tells his son there's a way to do things and a right way to do things, and you're gonna do it the right way. And so his wife is kind of like Larry. He loves his ship the way it is. He made this for you. Why can't you just accept it? And he's like, no. Like, if my son's gonna do anything, he's gonna do it the correct way. And so it broke his son's like heart and everything. And so it shows that he's one of those type of parents that, like, how those type of parents when you're doing your work and your homework and everything, and they go over it and say, like, you write a sentence and say you write it correctly, but your words aren't separated from each other, Like, say you didn't write dark enough for somebody to read it. Say you space your letters out too far. And you know how you have those type of parents that are very like microaggression and everything. And so they like erase it for you and make you do it over again. He's like that. And so we never knew this in season one. So at some point in his adult life, we get to see when he first like entered the house and everything. And so, he wore like his little hazmat type suit so the radiation won't come out. And, Niles introduces him to Rita. Rita is like the first person he met. And they have like a really good bond. This is why they're good friends in like the future. And so, like, now he leaves and he's all like, I have some place to go, blah, 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 blah. And we know now he went to go see Dorothy. That's where he's always disappearing to. That and experiment on more people. And so he's worried about being around people. And Rita tells him, Niles made you these bandages to keep in your radiation so you don't have to wear your suit and everything like that. And so, like, he's very like scared to be around people, and when he sees Rita's face melt, it frightens him, which depresses her. But eventually, they get past that, and like I said before, they become very, very good friends. And so I'm not sure who his love interest is in like the comics and everything, because I think they made him gay for like the show. Because he's not like that in the comics, I don't believe. But I don't know who his love interest is in the comic. He might actually be gay in the comics. I'm not really sure. And so, like, I'll look that up later. But when it comes to that of his son, he actually does look up his sons in the future. And well, tell you the truth, one of them actually died. I think the one that made the ship is the one that died. And so he sees his other son. And so they get along and he invites his son to help him clean out the other brother's like, place. And so he takes Rita with him. And so when he goes and everything, they're cleaning it out, but then they have a heart to heart about how like, he finds out his son was like into like, what's that stuff called? Conspiracy theory type stuff, but he learned it from his mom. And then this is when crap hits the fan. His son contacted the Department of Normandy to arrest both him and Rita. And it was quite a twist and a shocker, because you assume that, him and his son was getting along very, very, very well, and his son accepted him for the way he looked. And his son even accepted him for his being gay and stuff. But this was quite a shocker when he called the Department of Normandy. So they come out with their guns ablazing, and Rita uses her body to shield one of his one of his grandsons or whatever, because he has two grandsons. Her flesh, because it's so elastic like, it bounces the bullets right off it. Sadly though, she wasn't like able to save the other son, and he gets hit by bullets. And so this causes like a huge, huge problem between him and his son. So when he wants to go and visit his grandson to see if he's okay in the hospital. But his son has alerted the police that if Larry Trainer comes to visit, to arrest him. And so like when Larry's under the influence of scats, him and Jane, they keep constantly going to visit until they are able to visit. But then his son is no longer there. Now, I'm not sure if like his grandson or great grandson died, but they actually introduced the character of Valentina Vostok Vostok in here, who becomes the negative woman from the comics. Now she becomes the negative woman differently in the television show. Oh, also in the comics, he's straight and he has feelings for Rita. This shows, so I like how in the show they did the whole, how those two are like very close to show like a nod to that and stuff. Now, Valentina, she was a cosmonaut. And so, like, with her, in the show, she got exposed to negative energy as well. And she has a negative spirit in her. And her and Larry really, like, talking, and she tells him, like, how, like, control and stuff like that. And because him and his negative spirit gets along a whole lot better now. And he can actually release it by telling it to. And so she's there with two other cosmonauts. And so with that episode, that's when Dorothy like stole their spacecraft and went up into like space on the moon and stuff like that. And so the two guys she's with, they start to act weird when they're on Earth. The reason for that is because they had a parasite type thing in their brain, and when it's exposed to oxygen, they will die. So she brought them home to like, bury them and stuff. And so it's kind of cool that he meets another person who's like a kindred spirit, you know what I'm saying? Because she knew exactly what he's going through. However, her body didn't die from, or her body didn't get burnt from radiation and flames and stuff like that, like Larry. Like, she looks completely normal. So, Vic, he goes through an interesting change this season. He actually leaves the Doom Patrol and goes to live by himself after he's back to normal size and stuff. He's not even really helping the team out that much. But eventually he does go back. Now, him and his father get along smoothly now, but his father barely shows up in the series, only once. And so with him, he goes to a PTSD like support group, and there he meets Ronnie Evers. Now this is the gender bent version of Ron Evers from the comics. Ron Evers was his friend who he grew up with back in the day, but in the show, she's just a military veteran with like who was experimented on and has all these scars on their body. So him and her start to clash a little bit because she's a little bit of a smart mouth, and so she doesn't want Vic in the group if he's going to record everything because, his eye automatically records stuff. So she makes him like shut down like grid. So he won't record stuff, and those two get along. But it's very interesting how they bond and stuff. So basically it's just like, her not accepting him. And like, because she just kind of thinks he's a little bit more better than everybody, but she's kind of like playing around. And so eventually they do start to bond. And when she gets mugged, she stops the mugger, but he's about to like arrest the mugger, but she doesn't want him to because he's all like, he'll just be put in the system and blah, blah, blah. And he has like, only a couple of like thefts, but nothing really major. And so this is very unusual for him because he is a hero who stops muggers and stuff. Eventually they bond to the point of like a relationship. And he's curious to know like how she got her scars, and he accepts her for who she is and says she's beautiful when she kind of doesn't accept like everything about herself and stuff like that. And when he is in that PTS group, he doesn't really want to talk. He just wants to listen. And so she helps bring out like a different side to him, like a happier side. However, when she shows, like, she tells him like she has like a dark past, and she shows him like a military photo of her, a bunch of dead bodies around with her and a bunch of other men and stuff like that. And he rejects that, and so she leaves and she doesn't talk to him no more. When it comes to him and the rest of the group, like eventually, like I said, he will come back, but like the way he's treating them this season is almost like he doesn't want nothing to do with them. Like Cliff, he comes to him and he's all like, I want to be like, why did him and Cliff? Oh, Cliff wants to have be able to touch and feel stuff. And Cyborg has the ability to still feel stuff, even though they both like robotic type men. And so when Cliff goes to him, he asks his father, "Can you give me any type of like tactile sensory things so I can feel and experience stuff?" And Sal tells him, "My son's technology is advanced, and Niles just used scrap on you and everything. It just wouldn't work out like that." So that really upsets Cliff, because Cliff went down a dark path this season. And so when they're hanging out, like Vic takes him to the apartment of that lady and tries to like, woo her. So Cliff gives him some advice that really helps out. And like really, really helps out. But Cliff later on wants to be like a hero and buddy up with Cyborg. And it's this weird, funny 70s parody of like two buddy cops. It's a hilarious thing in there. You have to see it. It's also on YouTube. But Vic doesn't want to do that, and he doesn't want to help like Cliff out or nothing like that. So Vic is being a real butthead this season. And so then the same thing happens to Rita. Rita wants to be now a superhero, calling herself the beekeeper and stuff. And it's another 70s daydream bit and everything, but he doesn't want nothing to do with her as well. And so when things with Ronnie start to get a little fishy and everything, because he brings her to the house during the Sex Patrol episode, and then when they're there, they get infected with scats. And so like he thinks he's all like in love with her and all this other stuff, and then when they with the scats, they go into the negative space in the painting where Danny was at. And so they get captured and stuff. And so when they're captured, there's this type of like jelly that the scats extract from like people's ears, and they feed it to the queen. And it's supposed to do something, I think like gives you super strength or something like that. And so she steals it. And she goes looking for the man who organized the experimentations on her. And she kills him. And she takes like the jelly fluid and stuff. So when Vic finds this out, because he knows the people who experimented on her, and when he sees that that man is dead, he knows it must be her. So him and Rita, they go, and so he tries to stop her, but they have like an argument, and she whoops his butt. And so he's gonna shoot her with his cannon, but she's all like, "We both know that's not gonna happen." And so when she leaves, Rita tries to stop her just by standing there, but Rita gets too scared and lets her leave. And so like this really upsets him, because he's finally found somebody he can love and love him back. Because in last season, remember, he tried a dating app, and that one lady rejected him because now he looks like a cyborg type person. And so after this, he stays with Doom Manor people, and he helps Dorothy when the prophecy comes to light. But that's basically all he does this season. He's like really like butt-headed this season and stuff. There's really no like woe is me with the way he looks and everything, 'cause he's in a happier spot. So that's a nice direction they went in. And of course the reason why he left is because he doesn't want nothing to do with Niles and stuff. Rita. So Rita's in a much more happier spot than she was last season. She is able to be around people now, because after the events of last season at the end, she got a job like, teaching theater or something like that. And so, but her students are like really rude to her. Well, anyway, she wants to get into theater herself this season. And so like she tries out for this like production and everything, but she doesn't get the role she wants. And what's interesting is they're gonna do a thing about Rita Fair. And she can't even get the role of playing herself. And so she doesn't like how Rita's being portrayed and everything, and it really upsets her. Well, anyways, at some point in time, she's supposed to like, she's supposed to like take inspiration from this one woman and try to like learn this role of a beekeeper, which for some reason gives her the idea to become that of like a superhero by the name of Beekeeper. And it's a funny funny like 70s daydream like bit that she has. And so she asks Vic for help with that, but he doesn't want to help be like her sidekick or nothing like that. And he doesn't want to teach her how to be like a hero. And so, like, she's been experimenting with her powers, trying to make her arm go longer and stuff like that. She's able to sometimes, but not always. When she tries around a group of people, it doesn't happen, and she loses self-confidence. Doing the whole Danny party thing, she asked Flex Metallo to put her back in that happy state she was in last season. Because that's when she was able to use her powers or something like that, supposedly. He does it, but he does it too much. And she explodes. She explodes so much that it catches the attention of a sex demon. Shadowy Mr. Evers, I think his name is, or Evans. And and so this causes him to go to like the Danny party and everything at Doom Manor, and causes all these sex ghosts to project themselves all around the party. However, this sex demon, if he gives birth, because now he's pregnant, if he gives birth and the baby cries, it will pretty much destroy all the life and stuff like that. This is what causes the sex men to appear. And yes, they are from the comics. It's just they don't wear that helmet thing in the show. But everything else is pretty accurate, even the Sex Pistols. It's a hilarious episode. This causes Hammerhead to come out and pretty much stop the baby from crying by shoving it up the sex demon's, body, and they get rid of like the sex demon and stuff. And so the thing is that Hammerhead does this heroic thing, which she now understands why Jane did what she did in season 1. Now Rita is going through some stuff. The only thing she's really going through is her wanting to be a hero and stuff. And she has flashbacks of something she saw when she was a little girl. Remember when her mom tried to get her to do like television shows and plays and this and that? Well, when she didn't get the role, her mom got those roles for her by giving it up and everything. So her mom took one for the team by having sex with like directors and producers and stuff. One time Rita saw this and it frightened her, and her mom saw her doing it too, and that really upset her mom. But her mom, this is why Rita turned out the way she did when she got older and wanted like certain parts and stuff and roles. She learned all that crap from her mom. And her mom always told her to wear makeup because it makes you look like a grown woman and stuff like that. And so when at the end of the season, when they had to fight the villain and he's making all of their like imaginary friends come to life and everything, she sees one. Her imaginary friend is kind of like a person she drew, and it's kind of like takes the form of her mother, kind of. It's kind of also like a teacher, instructor type person and everything. And so for the most part, even though the stuff Rita was going through is like important, it's not really emphasized on that much as it was last season, mostly because Dorothy and Niles took up a lot of screen time this season. So Cliff went down a very dark path this season, all because of what Niles did to him and everybody else. Because of this, in every episode, he is hating on Niles big time. Even to the point where they get into arguments and stuff. And so, because Niles needs to stay alive for his daughter. And Cliff literally tells him, well, which experiment you gonna do? Are you gonna turn yourself into a robot man, infect yourself with an alien spirit in terms of radiation? Or are you gonna inhale this gas and turn all elastic into a blob? Or Or are you gonna inject yourself with superpowers and have like multiple personalities and stuff? Like, what exactly are you gonna do? Like, Cliff is really laying it out to him. Well, those two cannot get along this season. But Cliff sadly also takes it out on Dorothy and everything. He doesn't really want nothing to do with her. He even makes fun, him and Jane make fun of Dorothy's appearance. See, Dorothy, Niles made her with that cave looking woman and stuff. So Dorothy has her appearance, but Dorothy has more of a monkey looking appearance to her face. And this really sucks that he's making fun of her because of the way she looks, all because he hates Niles, because he all that stuff he went through in season one and his friends, so he knows what it's like to be made fun of. So that's really low down of him to, like, do what he did. Like, I really did not like him this season. I get why he's angry, but to take it out on a little, technically she's not really a little girl, she's 100. But she has the appearance of a little girl and the appearance that of a monkey. And so at some points he does try to get along with her. Like because when they was like tiny, she wanted to be in the car. She's never been in a car before. So they drive around a little toy car and everything. But then when her imaginary friends scare him, he's really rude and he starts shouting at her, which causes Niles to get pissed at him. And so when Dorothy takes his cheese to go feed the rats, he's then scared because he's not feeding the rats with the cheese. He lures them out so he can kill them and everything. So he wants to take his anger out on Niles, but he can't kill Niles, so he kills the rats instead. And so at one point, when he's in his little slump, he kills a rat, disembowels his body, and wears its fur as kind of like a coat or like a tribal headpiece and everything. And so Niles does try to, like, make him feel better and stuff by giving him drugs. And so in that sex episode, he's very out of it. And there's a problem going on with Cliff this season. His hand moves a lot slower for some reason, and his body gets stuck. Now we find out why this is in season 3. I think he is getting Parkinson's or something like that inside his brain. And so when Dorothy runs away and goes to Mars, him and Niles go there. And he's the one that kind of talks to her and calms her down and, everything like that. So he starts to, like, not be such a butthead no more. Well, Niles gets the last laugh by ejecting him from the space pod. And he falls all throughout space and falls smack dab into Earth. And he's hundreds of thousands of miles away from that of, well, at least hundreds of miles, I know, from that of Doom Manor and stuff. So when he's trying to walk back, he's pissed, but his problem is acting up on him, and so it causes him to kind of, like, something happened. I think he can't walk no more, but then he's able to. So he finds a guy, uses his phone. The guy will only do it if he takes selfies because he can't move. That's the thing. He can't move his legs now. And so he's calling everybody and he can't get a hold of nobody. He even calls Claire, his daughter, who wants something to do with him. And so eventually he does make his way back home. I forget how exactly. And so when he's there at home, Claire shows up. And he's very shocked because in the last season, she wanted nothing to do with him. And so it turns out Niles tried to make it up to Cliff. So he sent Claire the videotape of, what all he did to Cliff and all this other stuff. Because Cliff even makes Niles do a recording and have him confess about all the bad stuff, and does he feel bad about it. So this causes Clara to forgive her father and everything and accept him for the robot man that he is. This makes him thrilled and happy. Remember, she's also pregnant and about to give birth. He also finds out that his daughter is a lesbian and stuff. And so he's totally cool with that. And so when she invites him to the wedding, he's all happy and excited until Niles and Dorothy needs him. Because he doesn't want to, miss the wedding. But now Dorothy, who he now likes and everything, the prophecy is about to happen. And so when the candle maker starts granting like wishes, he makes Cliff's imaginary friend come to life. Who is that imaginary friend? Jesus. It's a pretty hilarious thing to happen. Him and Jesus and him, they fight. Jesus is kind of more like a hippie and everything, and Jesus is pissed that Cliff stopped talking to him doing like Bible camp and stuff like that. And so Jesus just whoops on Cliff and everything. And so, yeah. Cliff went down a very, very, very dark path this season. Jane is really going through it this season. More so in the underground than she is on the surface world. She's having a problem with the other personalities. So at the end of season 1, she took that serum from Joshua Clay. And so she's getting like high off it and stuff. It's supposed to suppress her and also suppress her other personalities. So she's shooting up on that. And so it causes the other personalities and her to sleep in the underground. This is causing a huge, huge problem with the other personalities in the underground once Jane is running out of it, and then later on she stops taking it. See, when the other personalities are starting to take on front and center, they prevent Jane from going to the surface world and being primary, because they're all like, look, when you do that stuff, not only you hurting yourself, but you're hurting Kay, and because that's Kay's body and everything. And their job is to protect Kay, but Jane doesn't want to deal with the reality of what Chief did to her and stuff, and giving her superpowers. And so they prevent her literally from going to the surface. So at one point, the hangman daughter, the painter, takes over and stuff, because they will not let her go up to the surface. And so they tell her it's intervention time. They tell her, like, we don't like it when you run off with the other members of the house and doing all this superhero stuff. We don't like it when you're going into like things like the negative space, or going through that portal in the donkey and everything. Like, it traumatizes them as well and stuff, and it put Kay's body in danger. And so she's literally all like, I have to do that stuff. Those are like my friends, and they're gonna die, and Niles and all this other crap. But so because of that, they won't let her go to the surface. And so Scarlet Harlot takes over at one point when they have like the sex patrol party and stuff. But then when the sex demon's baby's about to be born, that's when Hammerhead like wakes up, and she takes possession of the body. And so when the dude explains to her that this thing will literally kill people and babies and kids and all this other stuff, and Hammerhead knows that if the world comes to an end, Kay's gonna be injured as well, and all this other stuff. So Hammerhead takes the initiative and gets rid of the demon and the sex demon and stuff. This causes her to be a hero, and she now realizes why Jane does what she does. And so she allows Jane to go back to the surface as the primary, until Miranda shows back up. And this is quite unusual, because Miranda, as you remember, threw herself into the well inside the underground when she screwed up. We don't know how yet she screwed up. And so and how Jane became primary. And so it's quite unusual, because it's weird. So Miranda starts taking over. And Miranda is very calm and mannered, and she gets along very well with the people in Doom Manor and stuff. And so at some point, when Niles has Dorothy and Dorothy wants somebody to play with, Baby Doll comes out. And so her and Baby Doll get along very well. And Diane does a great job of playing Baby Doll. Like, my God, she sounds like a little kid. She acts like a little kid. Like, she has that hyper attention like a little kid and everything. Like, when she plays Baby Doll, that's like my favorite character she plays. And so, but of course, being a little baby, they start to roughhouse a little bit and they make fun of each other. And so when Dorothy lets her imaginary friend come out, Baby Doll makes fun of it. So that hurts Dorothy's feelings, so she doesn't want to hang out with her. Baby Doll starts to get jealous when Niles starts to hold his own daughter and everything, because Baby Doll, see, all of Jane's personalities, for the most part, don't like being touched by men because of what happened to Kay's father when he used to touch her as a little girl. So, but Baby Doll is one of those few, just like Scarlet Harlot, that will allow a man to touch her and stuff. And she loves Niles to death. It's like a father to her. So she gets very jealous when Niles starts to act like a real father to his real daughter, to the point where Baby Doll has a very disturbed look on her face. But Dorothy's able to turn that around by playing hide and go seek with her. When Dorothy comes out, it scares the piss out of Baby Doll and everything. And it really pisses off Baby Doll to where she uses her powers on Dorothy. I didn't even know Baby Doll had powers, but she's telekinetic. She throws Dorothy into the incinerator and threatens to turn it on, burning her to death. And so Dorothy's smart and able to talk her way out of it, but she's unable to. Like at first it starts to work when she said, "I'll tell Daddy on you" and everything. But then Baby Doll's kind of like, "I don't care" and everything. Like, who's he gonna like? She kind of does the whole "who's he gonna believe" type thing. Because of course Dorothy won't be there or whatever. So I think she does turn on the incinerator, and this scares, of course, Dorothy. And so Dorothy makes a wish, and the candle maker comes out. When he comes out, Baby Doll turns later on into, I forget, I think it's Flaming Karen, I think his name is, the other personality. It's like it's kind of like the Human Torch. And so she fights like the candle maker and everything. And then they retreat back into like the mine. Well, Candlemaker somehow is able to go inside Jane's head and go into the underground because I guess Dorothy wished it and everything. And so it's like it's not so much a huge battle, but it's like chaos down there. Hammerhead tries to fight the Candlemaker and is unable to. Um, the flaming person tries again, but then Candlemaker ends up killing the flame person. Then Candlemaker wants only one other person that attacked it, and that's Baby Doll. He kills Baby Doll and everything. My favorite character died, man. I'm depressed about that. And so apparently when a personality dies, their station shuts down. See, remember Driver 8 who drives the train? She can drive to the other stations, and that's pretty much where the other personalities reside, unless they want to hang out someplace else. And like I said before, when you die, your station shuts down. So they blame Jane for all this, and because of the little girl, Dorothy, and stuff like that. And so as a result, at some point in time when Jane's in the underground, she noticed something, that Scarlet Harlot and another person's station has shut down, and she doesn't understand why, but she suspects it might be Miranda, but she doesn't really investigate. And so where is Scarlet Harlot and the other ones? Nobody knows. And so, at some point she talks to Kay in the underground and everything, because she tells I didn't mean to put your body in danger and blah 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 and stuff like that. And then so at one point Kay is upset because Kay wants her stuffed animal. It's like a little sheep that looks like Lamb Chop from Lamb Chop's Play Along. One day I will talk about that show. I grew up watching that show. And so the actual stuffed animal is actually inside the real well back at her farmhouse. So she takes Larry and they go to get it. And she goes down in the well to find it. And that's around the time Miranda appeared and stuff in real life. And so Miranda wrote a note and she put like, the stuffed animal in the note inside like a place inside like the well and hit it with a rock. And the letter Miranda, like, being strong and everything. And because what Kay's father used to do is that when Kay would do something he didn't like, he would literally put her in the bucket and put her down in the well. And she would constantly scream and cry out. And when Miranda took over as primary, he's all like, stop calling yourself Miranda and stuff like that. Because he didn't understand what was wrong with her. So she gets the stuffed animal out and she takes it back down into like the underground and all this other stuff. But then something starts to happen. I forget exactly what happens, but then the whole Miranda ruse takes shape. It's not really Miranda, because Miranda is in fact dead. It's Daddy. Remember Daddy from season 1, the one Jane thought she defeated and everything? He has left the well and he took the form of Miranda. So every time we saw Miranda be Jane up on the surface world, that was really Daddy, pretending to be all nice and everything. I did not see that coming. He pushes Jane down into the well inside the underground. And while swimming into like the water and everything, Jane now sees the real Miranda's body down there, and she sees Scarlet Harlot and the other one that went missing. Daddy killed the other two personalities and stuff. And so this will lead into like next season for an entire episode. When like, Daddy takes over that of Kay's body. But basically, I think, what was it? I forgot how exactly they, well, it was Dorothy that actually defeated Daddy somehow, but I forget how. And then, so they had to get, Jane back to like the surface world. I think I've already talked about that because I already did a rundown of season 3. Go watch that. But basically what it is that they had to get her back to like the surface. And they're unable to because the train station's messed up. So they put her in a plane that Kay came up with long time ago in her mind. And so that's how she used to originally get other people to like the surface. They put Jane in there, but of course Daddy's down there trying to prevent it. And so I think Jane busts through like his body and it turns back into puzzle pieces or something like that, because she had the help and support of the other personalities and stuff. Niles Calder, also known as the Chief. So the Chief is a very interesting man. He's over 100 years old. And actually, I don't think he is, because he doesn't. Yeah, he is over 100 years old. And so, like, he is the one who caused all the pain and suffering that of the Doom Patrol and everything. He made them immortal because he wanted to find a way to be immortal himself. And the reason for that is his daughter, Dorothy. He has to stay alive to make sure she doesn't, like, grow up and doom the world and everything. Even though she's 100 years old, she exhibits the appearance of an 11-year-old girl. And so he's unable to find like a way to become immortal because every experimentation he did on those people caused them to be disfigured or messed up in the head and stuff. So he becomes immortal by this little necklace and stuff that he got from some magical person. And so in season 1, when he disappeared all the time, he kept going to visit Dorothy and also the experiment on people. Dorothy, he kept hidden away on Danny the street underground where she would not interact with nobody. And she's literally spent the past 100 years down in a room by herself. She doesn't know what nothing is. And she would hear the parties above the street, but she was never able to go to one. And so he does not want her to grow up whatsoever, but she becomes very defiant once she now lives in Doom Manor and stuff like that. Especially when she starts interacting with everybody else. In order to make everybody go back to normal human size after the events of season 1, Rita suggests that he calls that one magic person. The magic person wants some stuff in return. So he gives him the Beard Eater and Mr. Nobody that's still inside the painting in the white space. But he wants more than just that. He wants the necklace around Niles' neck, the one that keeps him immortal. So eventually Niles gives it to him. So Niles is very desperate at this time to be immortal. And he tries to find other ways, while also dealing with Cliff because Cliff hates his guts. And so he tries to become immortal by taking this one crystal from this one person that has a clock on his head. And he roller skates with a bunch of other people partying. He tells Rita and everything, take it off his helmet. Well, it turns out it's not a helmet, it's his actual head. So when Rita ripped the clock off, she literally detached the dude's head and he died. His brain comes out, but everybody's kind of like frozen and stuff like that. So Jane resets the clock and he goes back in time and he won't get the little jewel crystal thing that Niles needs to like stay immortal. Niles is desperate and he has ran out of options and everything. And so like it's at one point where those cosmonauts came back to Earth that Niles sent up there in the spaceship. Niles doesn't want to talk to them and everything. And Dorothy ends up stealing the spaceship they came in. He has the second one. Him and Cliff go up there, and once they get Dorothy back, he jettisons Cliff, and then he goes and just spend times with Dorothy. Because he sees she is starting to grow up. But he instructs her like not to grow up and never to make a wish and don't say the word wish. So they're hanging out at the fair, they're doing all kind of stuff, but then she has her period. And so she's becoming a grown woman sooner or later. So the events start to happen that he does not want to happen. And he sees his former lover, Dorothy's mom. Now, the way he found Dorothy is interesting. He was told that, like, he didn't know he had a kid. He was told that there was some type of creature that looks like some type of giant yeti with the face of like a deer or something like that. And that's the type of imaginary friend monster thing that his lover used to have. She later gave that to Dorothy. And that's how he was able to find her and realize, okay, that's his child. But the mother in spirit form is coming back and wanting to Dorothy to put on these red boots and all this other stuff and be a grown woman so the prophecy will come true, so she will defeat the candle maker and stuff. Niles does not want this to happen, but it happens. And then we can see Niles starting to get older in terms of like his hair color going more gray. So when he tells Dorothy you're not strong enough to fight the monster, she says she is, but then she's swallowed up. This causes so much despair in him that he screams out her name. Now, as you know, by season 3, which I've already talked about, Niles died that night. And he got resurrected for a short while back, and his head decapitated off and all this other stuff. But he is dead now in the Doom Patrol universe. And, you know, he's a very fascinating character. Like, you first think he's this great man who tried to save these people's lives, but then you find out he's terrible because, like, he's the one who caused all their pain and suffering. But then when you find the reason out why, then you kind of forgive him a little bit. And it's only because, like, you know, he had to stay alive for his daughter. He had to prevent her from growing up, which he was unable to do. And so, and it's sad to see him when he starts to get like older and sicker and he's coughing up blood and he knows his time is near and stuff, you know. But he actually does care about the people he experimented on because he feels terrible and stuff. And, you know, And when they start to hate him, that does hurt him. Like, he doesn't just have Dorothy as a child, he thinks of all of them as his kids as well. He is the original Professor Xavier and stuff. And this man has a litany of villains that want to come back and seek their revenge on him. Because, like I said, he has lived for 100 years and he has done a lot of stuff. Now we get into Dorothy, the one this whole season is about. And she is played by the gorgeous adult actress, Abby Monterey. I think that's how you say her name. And I honestly thought she was a little, like a lot of people assume she was a little girl really in this show, but no, this woman is a woman. Like, she's an adult actress, but she has dwarfism and stuff. But she is gorgeous and she is an amazing actress. That's why I was bummed when she left in season 3. And so Dorothy is a very unique character, and the way Abby plays her is great. Every time she cries on screen and gets upset, you really feel it, and you really feel the tension and the scariness that is coming afterwards and stuff. Like, you know something's bad's gonna happen, and they play it up so well and spine chilling. This is a problem Marvel has. This show was able to do something that I still think that Marvel has a hard time doing. I like Doctor Strange 2, the Multiverse of Madness. It was supposed to be a horror type thing, but I didn't really feel the horror that much. Moon Knight was supposed to be scary and kind of horror-y, but I didn't really feel it because it was too silly and goofy. And now Werewolf by Night, I'm hearing the first part of it is great, but then the second part turns into the wacky Thor Love and Thunder type stuff. And I'm just kind of like, Marvel doesn't know how to do scary. But this season of Doom Patrol knew how to do scary in a very scary way. And it all comes from Dorothy and her imaginary friends. Now, Dorothy has the appearance of that of a cave woman / monkey. So a lot of people are taken back by her appearance and they make fun of her or they're scared. Every time they make fun of her or scare her, this upsets her to the point where she nearly cries and she apologizes for the way she looks. But she has nothing to apologize for because she looks the way she does because of her mom being a cave woman and stuff. Now, even though she's 100 years old, she has the appearance of an 11-year-old girl, and Niles does not want her to grow up in any way, shape, or form. He also does not want her to make a wish. Now, in a way, she's kind of like Jane. She talks to these, because Jane has personality disorder, but Dorothy has imaginary friends, and she has the ability to make wishes, to make whatever she wants happen. Now, her imaginary friends, one is given to her by her mom. It's kind of like a Yeti Bigfoot type thing with the head of a deer. The other one is kind of like this maid with a mirror for the face. We don't ever see that much of her. Then there's the giant spider that looks scary, but he's actually really fun and nice. And then there is the candle maker, who is the worst one of all. And he always tempts her to do bad stuff and to make wishes. And she constantly has to tell him, we're not supposed to do that. And when it's bedtime, he always tries to talk to her to stay up past her bedtime. And it's a struggle internally she always has with him. Now, she's able to see these imaginary friends, and they can also make other people see them as well. They normally frighten people, especially Cliff. But they're very friendly, except for the candle maker. And so, one time when she's playing with one of her imaginary friends, the spider, it causes her to knock over Danny the street. Now, Dorothy's a very sweet, loving, kind girl who's very excited to finally be around other people. Niles never allowed her to interact with people, because when he found her, she used to interact with people because she was in the circus, and they used to call her the little ape girl and everything. And so when he found her, he put her in Danny's street down below, and nobody could interact with her. She would always hear parties going on, but she wasn't allowed to go on the surface and interact with nobody. She's never been in a car. She's never drank. She's never put on makeup. None of that. And so when she breaks Danny the street, she is upset. She tells her father, well, I could make a wish and make him come back whole. And her father is adamant and furious and is all like, no, I have told you never say that word. Never say wish. Because when she makes a wish, a teeny tiny candle comes up out of her hand and she blows it out. And so this is what caused Ezekiel and Admiral Whiskers to go on to be giant sized last season. And so when all the inhabitants of Danny the Street come, the one drag queen person and Flex Metallo, they all throw a party for Danny to get Danny's spirits up. So, he can resurface again. And so while this party's going on, it's her bedtime. But when Chief is dealing with Cliff, she sneaks out and she starts interacting with everybody. She drinks alcohol for the first time and does not like it. And so, the candle maker tells her, well, this is an adult party and you're technically an adult because you're 100 years old. So you should be able to do this. And so, she interacts with Rita and Rita puts makeup on her face and stuff like that because she's never worn makeup before. And all this other stuff. So she's having a good time being around all these other people, but she's also feeling a little awkward and everything because of something that the candle maker tells her. Now she's really good friends with Danny and she used to communicate with Danny, but the candle maker tells her, ask Danny the truth. Was Danny your friend or was you his prisoner or its prisoner or whatever? And Danny finally reveals the truth. Niles kept her there, and that was Danny's prisoner. So, Danny the Street's not evil. It's just, it was technically a cage for her to be in and stuff, because that's what Niles wanted. This causes her to be upset even more, to where she almost makes a wish and everything. And so, she's having this internal struggle of wanting to be older, but her father won't let her. So when something upsets her to the point where she goes off into space and tells, she's going to live on the moon for the rest of her life, but she doesn't understand the whole thing about oxygen and she can't just breathe in that little helmet thing you wear. It's Chief and the Cliff that calm her down, but mostly Cliff. And so when they go back to Earth, they go into the fair and all this other stuff. But then something happens when they're at a service station. Her appearance frightens that of a little girl. And so it upsets her. And it upsets her to the point where she has her period. And so she goes into the restroom scared, not knowing what to do. And so the lady who works there helps her out by giving her her napkins and some clothes and this and that. Her father's at this point where he is now dying. And he asked the wizard dude for help. But before that could ever happen, they're at the circus and the candle maker appears. Because all these strange imagery of her mom coming back and trying to give her these shoes and this and that. And so when her mom finally gets the shoes and everything like that, these boots, they transform into different type of boots. But anyway, the candle maker has now come out in the candle flesh, if you will. And the candle maker is the primary villain of this season. It's been inside her head this entire time and it rarely comes out. Like I already told you before, when she was playing with Baby Doll upset her and she wished that the candle maker would get Baby Doll, and boy did he get her and stuff. He killed her behind. And so when this don't make no sense about the candle maker. His big plan is to use her wish power to make people's imaginary friends come to life, but in a dark, nightmarish kind of way. When they succumb to it, Vic, I forgot to talk about Vic, when he succumbed to his best friend, which was his father dressed as a cowboy, once they come to the realization of what it is, they're doing, their whole body is encased in wax. And so now they're trying to tell her, you're not strong enough to defeat the thing, but her mom assures her that she is. She creates like this staff weapon, and she goes to attack the Candlemaker, but he pretty much swallows her up. And then it ends. But then the next season, when she's inside, she's able to defeat the Candlemaker very quickly by using the power of love. I hate when that's used to defeat somebody. And so she tells the Candlemaker, we're friends and everything. No matter how long it takes, I'll stay here until you accept me again as your friend, because you used to protect me and everything, and now I have to protect you and blah, 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 blah. And so now the Candlemaker's good, and we never hear from the Candlemaker or her imaginary friends again. And I don't know why in season 3. So yeah, season 2 was very, very dark, but it also had some humor and levity to it. Like, I liked the first episode when everybody was tiny and Larry was only full size, and Larry had to make teeny tiny pancakes for them, and he started making teeny tiny furniture, popsicle sticks and all kind of stuff. Like, it was just like really cool seeing him do that for them and everything. He cares about them, and he went that extra mile doing that for them. Because didn't want to go to the store because people might look at him, because he could have bought like toy furniture or a toy house or something, but he didn't. And we also get to see a couple of other villains, like this one dude who turns people into butterflies and stuff. But season 2 was really, really good, just like season 1. It just wasn't as dramatic as season 1. But I understand why they had to go in a different direction, because you can't stay the same for season after season after season. And I still don't like season 3. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.